I was born and brought up in a very high caste of India.
Saya lahir dalam keluarga yang kasta tinggi di India.
I was born as Brahmin.
Saya lahir sebagai orang Brahmin.
So among Brahmins also there are categories.
Dalam Brahmin itu ada banyak kategorinya.
If you are born a Brahmin, it means you are born as God.
Kalau kamu lahir sebagai Brahma, Brahmin, kamu seperti Tuhan.
That is the highest caste.
Itu adalah kasta paling tinggi.
People can't question you. They have to regard you.
Orang tidak boleh persoalkan kamu, mereka harus hormat dengan kamu.
Everybody has to bow down.
Semua harus tunduk kepada kamu.
So among Brahmin also I was born in Joshis.
Antara orang Brahmin saya lahir dalam keluarga Joshi.
That is why my name carries Sumit Joshi.
Itulah sebabnya nama saya Sumit Joshi.
So Joshis were the scribes.
Joshi adalah itu penyalin buku suci.
So they used to photocopy like old scripture of Hinduism were written on leaves. So whenever the leaf is torn, the book is torn, so they used to photocopy it.
Jadi pada zaman dulu mereka tulis itu buku suci atas daun, dan bila daun itu sudah koyak, mereka saling kembali.
And that is how they could preserve all the Hindu religious books.
Dan itulah cara mereka dapat teruskan, kekalkan semua itu tulisan Hindu.
And that is how Joshis are so proud of what they have done.
Dan oleh kerana itu golongan Joshi sangat bangga dengan apa yang
So
mereka
Hinduism exists, it is because of Joshis, because all the books were preserved by Joshis.
Dan agama Hindu itu berterusan sebab orang-orang Joshi ini telah terus menyalin itu kitab suci.
So I was very much proud of my caste.
Jadi saya sangat bangga dengan kasta saya.
From my childhood, I was a devotee of Shankara and Kali.
Dan dari kecil saya seorang pemuja Shankara dan Kali.
They are the god and goddesses of Hinduism.
Itu adalah dewa dan dewata.
When I was 6 years old,
Bila saya umur 6 tahun,
I was sent to Gurukul.
saya dihantar ke Gurukul.
Gurukul is a religious school for Hindu priests to get trained and become a priest.
Dan Gurukul itu ialah sekolah untuk Hindu, untuk dilatih sami-sami Hindu.
So up to class 10, I studied in Gurukul.
Sampai umur 10 tahun saya belajar di Gurukul.
Learned Hindu scriptures, languages, mantras, shlokas, and Sanskrit.
Dan saya belajar semua pelajaran Hindu. Semuanya.
I like it, shortcut. No? So that is how I was brought up with all proud background and proud knowledge of Hinduism.
Jadi saya berbangga, saya dibesarkan dalam pengetahuan Hindu, pelajaran Hindu itu.
I was very satisfied in my life.
Saya sangat puas hati dengan hidup saya.
I thought I am very much blessed fellow.
Saya fikir saya seorang yang sangat diberkati.
Because everything is there in my house and everybody, have to bow down us.
Dan semua benda kami ada di rumah dan semua orang akan tunduk pada kami.
And our God and goddesses are very happy to us.
Dewa kami pun senang dengan kami.
I never had question in my heart about life and death.
Saya tidak pernah ada soal dalam hati saya tentang hidup atau mati.
But one day something happened in our family.
Tapi pada suatu hari sesuatu terjadi dalam keluarga saya.
My beloved mother, was found diagnosed with third stage of TB.
Dan ibu saya dia telah didapati menghidapi penyakit kering yang teruk.
And I was a mama's boy.
Saya adalah anak kesayangan mama.
Always with my mama.
Selalu bersama mama.
I loved my mother so much.
Saya sangat menyayangi mak saya.
So I have one older brother and one younger brother.
Saya ada seorang abang dan seorang adik lelaki.
So I don't have sister.
Saya tidak ada kakak ataupun adik perempuan.
So my mother used to always, make me like her girl. She used to make me like her girl.
Ya,
Must be like her.
jadi memang saya melayan saya seperti anak perempuannya juga lah.
When I was small, she used to keep my hair long and make and just dress me with frock and she used to make me like her princess because she dreamed that.
Jadi bila saya kecil dia biar rambut saya panjang, dia pergi saya pakai cantik. Sebab dia punya impian saya dia ada anak perempuan juga.
But we are boys, know how they are.
Tapi kami budak lelaki lah kan.
So she have 3 boys.
Dia ada 3 anak lelaki.
Yeah, so that is how I grew up with the love I have received from my mother. But when I come to know that she is very, very sick, and she really needs good medical attention.
Jadi kemudian saya dapati bahawa dia sakit teruk dengan penyakit ini.
I become very sad. I started worshipping God more.
Jadi saya sangat sedih dan saya mula lebih banyak bersembahyang.
Night time we used to wake up and do yagyas, pujans, to please our God and goddesses.
Dan pada tengah malam bangun untuk ucapkan itu sembahyang.
Chant more mantras, to please our gods.
Mengucapkan mantra untuk menyenangkan Tuhan.
But nothing happened.
Tapi tidak ada sesuatu pun berlaku.
My mother's health was going down, getting worse every day.
Dan penyakit mak saya semakin hari semakin teruk.
And on the day 8 March 2005,
Pada 8 Mac 2005,
that was Mahashivratri day.
Itu ada hari
Mahashivratri day, that is the day of Shiva.
Hari Shiva.
It is a big celebration, big festival in India.
Itu ada hari perayaan besar di India.
So everybody fasts, so I was on fasting just for my mother.
Semua orang berpuasa dan saya juga berpuasa khusus untuk mak saya.
So when I used to sit in worship, chant mantras, I used to chant it at least for 2.5 hours or at least for 3 hours.
Dan bila saya ucapkan itu mantra, saya akan ucapkan selama 2,5 atau sampai 3 jam.
So my mother went with me and I went in, I was praying, for 3 hours. When I came out, I saw my mother was not there, and as I walked towards my house,
Saya sembahyang 3 jam itu di kuil, tapi bila saya keluar mak saya tidak ada di situ. Saya jalan kaki balik ke rumah.
there was a big crowd in my house, and people were crying.
Dan ada ramai orang saudara di rumah saya dan orang pun mula menangis.
My mother was lying on the floor,
Mak saya berbaring di tanah
and people said that she's gone.
dan mereka kata dia sudah pergi.
She vomited, blood vomiting, and she died.
Dia telah muntah banyak darah dan dia mati.
Since my house is inside the temple, only we live in the temple.
Jadi rumah saya dalam kuil, kami tinggal dalam kuil.
My forefathers, they served the temple.
Saya punya nenek moyang semua melayani dalam kuil.
So my heart was completely broken that day.
Dan hati saya hancur pada hari itu.
And there was pain in my heart because I prayed a lot to God and goddesses, but they could not heal my mother.
Saya rasa sangat sakit di hati saya. Saya telah sembahyang pada semua dewa-dewa ini, tapi mereka tidak tolong.
I asked question, God, why it has happened?
Saya tanya pada Tuhan, Tuhan kenapa ini terjadi?
And that day was very hard, but somehow it passed.
Dan sangat susah hati pada hari itu.
And as the days passed,
Dan hari demi hari berlalu,
I become depressed,
saya menjadi depresi atau murung.
overthinking about my mother.
Dan saya terlalu banyak pikir tentang mak saya.
I missed my mother very much.
Saya sangat rindu mak saya.
So in my house, I was restless.
Dan di rumah saya tidak tentu arah.
I had so many sleepless nights,
Saya banyak malam tidak dapat tidur.
just thinking about my mother all night.
Hanya memikirkan tentang mak saya.
It was like my whole world was lost.
Seperti dunia saya sudah lenyap.
And I started asking questions to my gurus, my teachers.
Dan saya mula bertanya soalan kepada guru-guru agama saya.
I said, why it happened?
Kenapakah ini terjadi?
They said it might have happened because of karma.
Ini mungkin terjadi kerana karma.
And I was surprised
Dan saya heran.
because my mother was a very calm lady.
Dan sebab mak saya seorang yang sangat tenang.
She didn't do anything wrong. She was very helpful to everyone.
Dia tak ada lakukan hal yang tak baik. Dia sangat baik pada semua orang.
So I, cross-questioned. I said, are you blaming my mother that she did something wrong? That is why she died in that pathetic death.
Jadi saya tanya pada guru saya, adakah engkau menyalahkan mak saya bahawa dia mati begitu rupa sebab kesalahannya?
But they changed their answer. They said, maybe her previous was birth karma.
Dia kata mungkin hidup yang sebelumnya itu punya karma.
When I interrupted, then I said, you said that when a person is in any form, like animal or anything, if they do something good, then only they get human body after 84,000 births.
Jadi saya jawab, kan kamu kata bahawa setiap bentuk kehidupan baik binatang ke orang itu kena 84,000 tahun baru boleh mencapai tahap manusia.
So she was a human. It means she did something good in her previous birth.
Jadi kalau dia jadi manusia, artinya hidupnya sebelum itu dia lakukan hal yang baik.
And now you are blaming her for her previous birth.
Jadi sekarang kita salahkan atas hidupnya yang lama.
That also karma theory doesn't match us.
Dari itu tak secocoknya.
They could not answer.
Mereka tidak dapat menjawab.
They said to my father that your son has gone mad because of mother's death.
Mereka cakap kepada bapa saya, anak kamu sudah gila lah kerana maknya.
So I had so many questions, and this is one of the questions.
Saya ada banyak soalan dan ini salah satu soalannya.
So I was pondering upon all these things,
Saya selalu memikirkan semua benda ini.
and I thought,
Dan saya pikir,
for example, tomorrow if I am crossing road, and if a drunkard driver, he hits me, so what people will say?
dan saya fikir kalau saya melintas jalan esok dan ada seorang pemandu yang sudah mabuk, dia langgar saya, apakah yang orang akan katakan?
What my religion will say?
Apakah agama saya katakan?
They won't say that that fellow was drunk.
Mereka tak cakap orang itu mabuk.
They would say this fellow had done something wrong, karma in his life, that is why he died like that.
Mereka akan cakap orang ini lakukan salah, ada karma. Kerana itulah dia mati.
It means somebody got cancer, sickness, poverty, anything. It is because of their karma, they say.
Jadi kalau orang itu punya kanser, ada apa pun penyakit, mereka kata ini kerana karma mereka.
How is it possible?
Macam mana ini mungkin?
So I didn't understand karma theory.
Saya tidak boleh faham teori karma itu.
So there are jnana theory also there, jnana, knowledge.
Jnana.
Knowledge, jnana.
Giana, ada satu pengetahuan giana juga.
So they said that every time you go to Panditji, the Hindu priest, and you ask the question about life, he will give you 2, 3 or 4 books. Okay, read them.
Jadi kalau kamu pergi pada Islami Hindu tentang soalan, dia akan bagi kamu 3-4 buku dan suruh kamu baca.
They'll ask you, have you read the Vedas? They'll ask.
Kamu sudah baca itu kitab Veda?
If you say you have read, then they will say, okay, read Mahabharata.
Kalau sudah baca, bacalah Bharata.
Then if you read Mahabharata, they will say, read Ramayana also.
Kalau sudah baca itu, bacalah Ramayana.
If you read Ramayana, they will say, okay, read Sri Mahabharata.
Kalau kamu sudah baca itu, bacalah lagi itu Mahabharata.
Every time you go, they will give you assignment. You go with question, you get assignment.
Setiap kali kamu pergi kepada dia, dia bagi kamu tugasan baru.
And they say, by attaining the knowledge of the Holy Scriptures, you will have a good luck.
Jadi kalau kamu memiliki pengetahuan kitab suci, kamu akan punya nasib yang baik.
And you attain moksha, salvation.
Dan kamu akan mencapai moksa, itu keselamatan.
But that is also a lie.
Tapi itu juga satu pembohongan.
See, I did not study that much books.
Saya tidak belajar begitu banyak buku,
But I know people who have studied all the books,
tapi saya kenal orang-orang yang sudah belajar semua kitab-kitab itu.
and they are suffering.
Dan mereka sedang menderita.
So why should I read them?
Jadi mengapa saya membaca ini?
My father,
Bapak saya,
very brilliant person,
orang yang sangat cerdik.
read all, he predicts others' future.
Dan dia dalam baca semua kitab-kitab itu.
If you go with problem, he will tell you 10 solutions and get money. See,
Kalau kamu tanya dia, dia akan bagi kamu 10 jawaban dan dia dapat kutip.
but he himself is suffering.
Tapi dia sendiri menderita.
He has three children
Dia ada 3 anak lagi,
left without a mother.
tapi tidak ada maknya.
So that was a hopeless thing which I come to learn.
Tapi itu hal yang tidak punya harapan yang saya alami.
So karma failed.
Jadi karma itu tidak terjadi.
Jnana, the people who have more knowledge, they suffer more.
Dan giana, orang-orang yang punya pengetahuan kitab-kitab, mereka juga
So why
menderita.
should I read them?
Mengapa saya harus baca buku kitab-kitab
My
itu?
father has read, no.
Bapak saya sudah baca semuanya.
See his life.
Tengok hidupnya.
So these things, there are many other, they call Bhakti Marga also there. 3 margas are there. So they say it karma, jnana and bhakti. That is to attain moksha.
Karma, giana dan bakti.
Bhakti means devotion, being devoted to God and goddesses.
Bakti itu artinya punya kecintaan pada dewa dan dewa.
So bhakti also it has problem.
Bakti itu juga ada masalah.
The problem is bhakti you want to do with body or you want to do it with heart.
Bakti itu harus berlaku dari badan kita kan atau dari hati kita.
You may think Brahmins are more bhakts.
Kamu pikir orang Brahmin lebih punya hati berbakti.
But I was taught in Gurukul how to get money,
Tapi saya diajar di kurikulum bagaimana untuk mendapat uang,
how to take the fees out from your pocket.
untuk dapat iuran daripada poket kamu.
I was taught.
Saya diajar begitu.
Being Brahman, they said that is my karma to take out money, to get money.
Sebagai orang
You
Brahmin,
scare people and get money.
sebagai orang Brahmin itu karma saya untuk dapat uang daripada kamu.
So is that bhakti?
Adakah itu bakti?
If anybody has to go to hell, that will be first Brahmins.
Kalau orang mau masuk neraka, yang pertama ialah orang Brahmin.
Rooting up everybody. Bhakti is nothing.
Jadi bagi kita bakti itu tak ada arti.
It is just showing up that we are very spiritual.
Itu hanya menunjuk-nunjuk bahwa kita orang yang sangat rohani.
We don't need to think about others' problem. We have to solve our own problem. That is the thing.
Kita tidak perlu memikirkan masalah orang lain, kita perlu selesaikan masalah
We need to think
kita.
how to make money. That's all.
Kita hanya pikirkan bagaimana untuk mendapat uang itu saja.
And with this mindset, we think that this is our right. to take people's money.
Dan dengan cara pemikiran itu kita fikir inilah hak kami untuk mendapat uang daripada orang itu.
Because we are born as Brahmin.
Sebab kami lahir sebagai orang Brahmin.
So all these three principles to attain moksha, or which gives question about life and death, failed.
Dan tiga prinsip ini untuk mencapai moksa atau keselamatan semuanya gagal.
And I was really very much hurt.
Dan saya rasa sangat terluka.
I used to ask questions.
Saya sering bertanya soalan.
So my gurus,
Jadi guru saya,
when they used to see me, they used to run.
mereka nampak saya, mereka lari.
They used to say, this crazy fellow.
Ini orang gila ini.
And this is how. So one day, when I was thinking, so I came into the conclusion.
Jadi satu hari saya selalu fikir dan akhirnya saya buat kesimpulan.
I thought everybody on this earth is suffering.
Saya fikir semua orang di dunia ini semuanya menderita.
So why we are living?
Kenapakah kita harus hidup?
Are we living to die one day?
Kita hidup untuk mati ke satu hari nanti?
Are we waiting for the chance or some sickness will come or somebody will be okay? I will die.
Adakah kita tunggu, mungkin saya sakit atau orang langgar saya akan mati?
So I did not find the meaning of life there.
Saya tidak dapat ada makna dalam kehidupan.
So I thought if my mother was a very religious, pious woman, if she died in that pathetic situation, for me, from my childhood, I'm telling lie, doing all these things, even worse.
Jadi saya pikir kalau mas saya seorang yang baik sangat, dia mati dalam keadaan yang turut, dan saya ini seorang yang berbohong, bahaya tidak baik.
And if my religion can blame my mother, so it can blame anybody.
Jadi kalau agama saya boleh menyalahkan mak saya, dia boleh menyalahkan sesiapa saja.
So why should I wait for my death to come?
Kenapa saya harus tunggu kematian saya untuk datang?
I should die fast.
Saya mesti mati dengan cepat.
And I ate poison.
Dan saya ambil racun.
I was taken to hospital.
Saya dibawa ke hospital.
Somehow, doctors saved my life.
Dan doktor dapat selamatkan saya.
So many people came, my relatives, gurus, friends, to give me counseling.
Ramai saudara mara, guru-guru saya datang untuk memberi saya counseling.
But when I asked question, they said no, this fellow is crazy.
Bila saya soalan, mereka cakap, tidak, ini
Because
orang
I
gila.
wanted answers.
Sebab saya mau jawapan.
I wanted. What is the need of religion actually?
Apakah maksudnya agama itu?
The things which you cannot reach, your religion should tell you the answers.
Dan apa yang kamu tidak boleh capai, agama itu harus beri kamu jawaban.
But these fellows, instead of telling me answer or guiding me, they started hating me.
Orang-orang ini dia tidak bagi saya jawaban, tapi mereka mulai benci saya.
They started calling me mental, crazy.
Mereka panggil saya orang gila.
So with that hopelessness, after 1 month, again I ate poison.
Dan kerana tidak ada harapan, selepas 1 bulan saya makan racun lagi.
Because I had no hope of living.
Saya tidak ada harapan dalam hidup.
Then again to the hospital.
Dan kemudian ke hospital lagi.
So many bad things, like damages happened in my stomach.
Dan banyak kerosakan berlaku dalam perut saya.
I'm not going to tell you what I ate. I don't want to give idea.
Saya tidak beritahu apa saya makan, tanpa kamu ada idea.
So with that hopelessness, I was living, and then it is like I was alive, breathing, but I was just surviving.
Dan itu seperti saya hidup, tapi hanya sekadar hidup saja.
So third time also.
Dan ada kali yang ketiga.
First time so many people came to counsel.
Kali pertama banyak orang datang kaunseling saya.
Second time less.
Kali kedua kurang sudah.
And third time nobody came.
Dan kali ketiga tak ada orang datang sudah.
My father did not take me to hospital.
Bapak saya tak bawa saya ke hospital.
He said, you wanna die, you die. You are such a headache for the family.
Bapak saya kata kalau kamu mati, matilah. Kami sakit.
My father said, the whole family is going through a very tough time, and you are the fellow who is troubling us more.
Dan bapak saya kata, kami sekeluarga menghadapi masa yang sedih, tapi kamu yang buat kami lagi susah.
So my heart was already broken, but again it was broken by the words of my father.
Jadi hati saya pun sudah sakit, tapi saya lebih lagi rasa sedih atas kata-kata bapak saya.
Why should there was no reason for me to be alive?
Tidak ada sebab saya mau hidup.
What I will get?
Apa yang saya boleh dapat?
So on the one hand, I was trying to kill myself, but on the other hand, very far from my house, God was preparing to save my life.
Dan saya sedang mau cuba mengambil nyawa saya sendiri, tapi dari jauh Tuhan sebenarnya berencana untuk selamatkan saya.
And it was my maternal uncle who joined Indian Army. He was in training, and then he got posted on the job, and his boss was a Christian from South India.
Dan ada seorang pakcik yang sebelah mak saya, Dia masuk askar dan dia telah dihantar ke satu tempat di mana ketuanya ialah orang Kristian
from Tamil Nadu.
dari Tamil Nadu.
And that because in army everybody drinks, alcohol around.
Di dalam askar semua orang itu minum keras.
But this officer was not drinking, neither he was abusing. He was very kind person.
Tapi pegawai ini dia tidak minum dan dia juga tidak punya kata kesat. Dia sangat baik orangnya.
My uncle was very much impressed by his personality.
Jadi pakcik saya sangat kagum dengan caranya itu.
And he asked, "Sir, I have seen you praying or something. My sister's son has gone crazy, sir. Can you please pray for him?"
Dan dia kata, Tuan, saya lihat Tuan ada berdoa dan saya punya anak pada kakak saya itu sudah sakit jiwa ya. Tolong doakan untuk dia.
He prayed and guided my uncle to go back on holiday and search for some Christians and take them to home and let them lay their hand on me and pray for me.
Dan pegawai itu kata kepada uncle saya, dia kata dia doa untuk saya dan cuma dia beri nasihat kepada uncle saya, baliklah ke kampung dan bawalah beberapa orang Kristian untuk tumpang tangan doakan untuk
So,
dia.
on the day when I was dying,
Jadi pada hari saya mau mati sudah,
suddenly my uncle enters in the room
tiba-tiba pakcik saya masuk ke bilik itu
along with 2-3 Christians.
dengan 2-3 orang Kristian.
He found them in the market, search and
Dia jumpa mereka di pasar, jumpa bawa saja,
brought them to temple
bawa ke kuil.
and then asked them, as the sir said, no, to pray. So they did not start prayer. They wanted to, Christians, they want to give knowledge, they have a lot of knowledge.
Jadi pakcik saya minta tolong doakan, tapi mereka tidak terus doa. Mereka mau bagi pengetahuan, orang bisa banyak pengetahuan, mau bagi
They were
pengetahuan.
speaking Tarantung, but I hated knowledge
Mereka mau beri saya pengetahuan, tapi sebenarnya saya sudah benci pengetahuan.
because I have seen from my childhood very brilliant, excellent people in academics.
So dari kecil saya sudah kenal banyak orang yang cerdik dan punya banyak pengetahuan.
They are suffering.
Mereka menderita.
Their life is hopeless.
Mereka hidup mereka tiada harapan.
So I don't wanted to listen to any knowledge.
Saya tidak mendengar apa-apa pengetahuan.
For me, knowledge was useless.
Bagi saya pengetahuan itu tak ada gunanya.
So they were saying, but anyway, at the end of their talk, I was dying. Here I'm dying. They do not know what I did.
Jadi selepas mereka habis cakap, sebenarnya saya sudah mau mati sudah, tapi mereka tak tahu.
And at the end of their talk, they said they want to pray for me.
Dan akhirnya mereka tak, okey, kami mau doa untuk kamu.
They asked me to close my eyes,
Mereka suruh saya tutup mata,
but they did not tell how long I have to close.
tapi mereka berapa lama harus tutup mata.
So as soon as they close their eyes, I open my eyes.
Jadi bila mereka tutup mata, saya pun buka mata.
I was looking at them
Saya tengok mereka.
because it has happened so many times. My father, sometimes neighbors used to bring, some witchcraft fellow. He will do something, So I thought they will do something, some chanting, some mantra, something.
Jadi seperti banyak orang, bapa saya bawa orang yang buat sihir macam-macam untuk saya bila saya sakit masa itu.
So I was looking at them, and one of them, tears were rolling from the eyes of one of them.
Jadi saya tengok mereka dan saya tengok salah seorang mereka ada air mata mengalir.
She was praying from her heart.
Dia berdoa dari hatinya.
And today I know the power of Holy Spirit.
Dan hari ini saya tahu kuasa Roh Kudus.
As I look at her tears,
Saya lihat air matanya.
some power came and like shook me, and something started happening in my heart.
Daripada dia ada satu kuasa datang mencama saya, sesuatu bekerja dalam hati saya.
Within microseconds, I become very restless.
Very restless.
Restless, yeah.
Jadi dalam beberapa saat saya sudah mulai rasa tidak tentu arah.
My heart started pumping very fast,
Jantung saya berdetak dengan begitu panas.
and I felt like shouting
Dan saya merasa mau menjerit.
and crying. I started shouting and crying.
Dan saya pula menjerit dan menangis.
They stopped the prayer. They asked me, "What has happened?"
Mereka bertanya, apa berlaku ini?
I said, "I don't know."
Saya tak tahu.
So they prayed for me over and over again.
Mereka terus dan terus berdoa untuk saya.
So just to summarize, make the story short,
Dan untuk meringkaskan ceritanya,
that the two miracles happened.
2 mukjizat berlaku.
The first miracle was the reaction of the poison stopped immediately.
Jadi yang pertama kesan racun itu berhenti serta-merta.
And second miracle was because my head used to be very heavy. I didn't sleep for many days. I was in depression. So it was like a stone rolled away from my head.
Jadi kepala saya sangat berat sebab saya sudah banyak malam tidak tidur. Dan tiba-tiba seperti itu ribut sudah berlalu dari kepala saya.
I felt as if, I have taken any drug. I felt very light.
Sepertinya saya sudah ambil itu dada, saya rasa ringan sekali.
Like people have ganja, no?
Seperti orang ambil ganja.
So I thought they have done some witchcraft on me.
Saya fikir mereka buat sihir terhadap saya.
I started scolding them.
Saya mula marah mereka.
They said, no, we have prayed in the name of Jesus.
Mereka kata tidak, kami hanya berdoa dalam nama Yesus.
And they said, Jesus is Bhagwan, Devata, like God.
Oh, mereka kata Yesus ialah Tuhan.
I was wondering which kind of God is he?
Jadi saya fikir apa jenis Tuhan dia?
Because in our system,
Sebab dalam sistem kami,
if you worship one God, that God only will bless you.
jadi kalau kami memuja satu dewa, dewa itu akan memberkati saya.
Other God will curse you.
Tapi dewa-dewa lain akan kutuk saya.
But this God, neither my grandfather, nor my father, nor me, we have never ever worshipped.
Jadi Tuhan ini, datuk saya, bapa saya dan saya, kami tidak pernah menyembah dia.
We did not give any banana, any coconut, anything.
Ada bagi pisang atau kelapa kepada dia.
We did not visit it. We did not do any pilgrim for Jesus.
Nah, kami tidak pergi melawat atau berziarahi.
Neither we chant any mantra or anything for Jesus.
Dan tak pernah mengucapkan mantra untuk Yesus.
Which kind of God is Jesus coming to a strange house and blessing?
Jadi Tuhan apa ini? Yesus datang ke rumah yang asing dan memberkati.
They said Jesus loves everyone.
Nah, mereka kata Yesus mengasihi semua orang.
I was really surprised by hearing that. I said, okay, I want to know more because I was a man of question.
Jadi saya sangat terperanjat dan saya mau tahu lebih sebab saya punya banyak soalan.
So I asked them question. They folded their hand and they said, we don't know.
Saya tanya mereka soalan, mereka tertangan dan kata, oh kami tidak tahu.
They said, come to our church. There is Pastor Ji.
Datanglah gereja kami, jumpa Pastor Ji kami.
I said, okay, Master Ji. Okay, I will come to your master.
Saya datang kepada master kamu.
That was Saturday. Sunday, I went to church along with my uncle.
Jadi hari itu Sabtu, jadi esoknya Ahad saya pergi ke gereja dengan pakcik
It
saya.
was a very small fellowship.
Itu satu persekutuan yang kecil.
So they were singing songs.
Mereka nyanyi lagu.
I sat down because from my childhood I am singing and writing.
Jadi saya duduk, sebab dari kecil saya menulis.
And then my uncle wrote the prayer point and passed.
Dan pakcik saya tulis itu doa dan dia katakan.
So they come to know that I am in depression. I had 3 attempts of suicide. So everybody prayed for me.
Jadi mereka tahu saya murung dan 3 kali cuba bunuh diri. Mereka datang semua doa untuk saya.
And then pastor preached the sermon.
Dan pastor berkhotbah.
I did not listen to any of these things.
Dan saya tidak dengar apa-apa dia khotbah.
I was just waiting for my time to come. And my target was to ask question to that pastor.
Jadi saya tunggu masa saya untuk tanya soalan kepada pastor itu.
So I was sitting and waiting.
Saya tunggu dan lihat.
So anyhow the prayer, was concluded.
Dan doa itu selesai.
And after the prayer, these aunties of my mother's age,
Jadi lepas doa itu makcik-makcik yang lebih kurang umur mak saya,
they came to me,
mereka datang pada saya.
hugging me,
Mereka memeluk saya.
and said, son, your mother died. We are like your mother. We love you.
Dia kata, anak, mak kamu sudah meninggal, tapi kami pun adalah mak kamu.
Another auntie came. She is kissing me.
Dan seorang makcik lagi datang cium saya.
And she said, you are my son.
Engkau lah anak saya.
I forgot all my questions.
Itu soalan saya.
I said, which kind of people they are?
Apa jenis orang ini?
Because it never happened in the temple.
Ini tidak pernah berlaku dalam kuil.
Have you seen any time the temple priest, wife kissing somebody, some children are like for worship and they are kissing and loving? Have you seen?
Kamu pernah nak itu istri suami datang untuk cium orang?
And my pastor's wife, that auntie, she's also kissing me, hugging me.
Dan itu istri pastor juga datang peluk saya dan cium saya.
I felt very wet in my heart. I felt very good.
Saya rasa sangat bagus dalam hati saya.
It was like I was broken. It was like somebody is putting Fevikwik and fixing me.
Dan saya rasa seperti saya diobati.
I said to my uncle,
Saya kata dengan pakcik saya,
I said tomorrow we will come little early.
esok kita akan datang lebih awal.
He said no, it will happen only next week.
Tidak ada. Betul-betul baru ada. I
was given New Testament.
Saya diberi satu perjanjian baru.
Within a week, I read it for 3-4 times
Dan dalam satu hari saya baca kitab perjanjian baru 3-4 kali
and learned a lot about Jesus.
dan belajar banyak tentang Yesus.
And that is how my old questions gone and I come to know the love of Christ.
Dan itulah caranya semua soalan saya telah hilang dan saya mulai mengenal kasih Tuhan Yesus.
God is not in knowledge.
Tuhan itu tidak ada dalam pengetahuan.
I come to know that God is love.
Saya tahu bahwa Tuhan itu adalah kasih.
And my life was completely changed.
Dan hidup saya berubah sama sekali.
I was on survival mode.
Saya dulu hanya sekala hidup.
And from that day, when I understood the love of Jesus,
Dan pada hari itu saya bertemu dengan kasih Yesus.
I transferred myself to revival.
Dan saya beralih dari sekadar hidup menjadi hidup yang
And
kembali.
things started happening with me.
Dan banyak hal berlaku dalam hidup
I
saya.
used to read miracles in New Testament.
Saya sering baca tentang mukjizat dalam perjanjian baru.
I used to read about faith in New Testament.
Saya baca tentang iman dalam perjanjian baru.
And I tried.
Dan saya
I tried to pray for some sick people.
Saya cuba berdoa untuk orang sakit.
I prayed that they got healed.
Saya berdoa mereka sembuh.
I started preaching in the bus.
Saya mula mengabarkan Injil di atas bas.
I started preaching in train.
Saya menyampaikan Injil di kereta api.
And to the people who comes to our temple.
Dan pada orang yang datang ke kuil kami.
So people thought that this fellow, now he has gone completely mad.
Orang ini benar-benar sudah gila.
Just imagine, priest's son holding Bible from the temple going to church every Sunday.
Jadi cuba fikir, oh anak Sami, tapi dia pegang Alkitab dan pergi ke gereja.
So people thought now completely, they said to my father, now your son completely, we told you to get him treatment. But now he is completely finished. He is gone mad.
Mereka cakap kepada bapa saya, kami sudah suruh kamu obati dia, tengok sekarang dia sudah sepenuhnya sudah gila.
Nobody expected me that I will live.
Tidak ada orang sebenarnya pikir saya akan hidup.
But it is the love of Jesus
Tetapi adalah kerana kasih Tuhan
gave me new life.
beri saya hidup yang baru.
When they come to know that I become a devotee of Jesus,
Dan mereka mula tahu bahawa saya menjadi seorang pengikut Yesus.
I was kicked out
Saya ditendang keluar
because my father could not bear the shame. For them, Christians are untouchables.
Jadi bapa saya tidak boleh tahan malu sebab dia orang Kristen itu tidak boleh sentuh.
And there was no woman in the family. Neither my mother, nor my grandmother, nor my sister. Only 5 boys. So that is why nobody asked me where I am.
Jadi tidak ada wanita dalam keluarga saya, tidak ada mak, tak ada nenek, cuma kami 5 lelaki. Jadi tak ada orang pun tanya di mana saya.
I was sent to another city. We have house there. I was searching for a church and landed in a Bible school.
Dan saya dihantar ke kota lain dan saya cari gereja. Akhirnya saya masuk sekolah Alkitab.
That is how I come to know about Bible school. I joined it, telling my grandfather that I have joined spoken English course.
Saya masuk sekolah Alkitab, saya beritahu kakak saya sudah masuk khusus bahasa Inggris.
And that is how I completed 1 year Bible course.
Dan itulah caranya saya menjalani 1 tahun khusus sekolah Alkitab.
The day I got certificate, I gave to my grandfather.
Hari saya dapat itu sedikit saya bagi dengan datuk
He
saya.
said, "Beta, you have completed English." I said, "No, I have completed Bible course."
Dia kata kamu selesai belajar Inggris? Oh tidak, saya selesai belajar Alkitab.
And that was the day I was kicked out of.
Nah itulah harinya saya diusir keluar dari rumah.
Then from the help of some Bible college professor to another Bible college because I needed food and shelter.
Dan dari pertolongan guru sekolah Alkitab dari sekolah Alkitab itu ke sekolah Alkitab lain sebab saya perlukan makanan dan tempat tinggal.
Then to another Bible school.
Dan kemudian lagi ke sekolah Alkitab lain.
So altogether 7 years in Bible school.
Akhirnya 7 tahun di sekolah Alkitab.
Whatever happened, it happened for good.
Semuanya apapun yang terjadi itu semuanya untuk kebaikan.
And that is how I got my calling to serve God.
Dan itulah caranya saya dapat panggilan untuk melayani Tuhan.
I shared gospel to my younger brother.
Saya sampaikan Injil pada adik laki saya.
He accepted Jesus.
Dia terima Yesus.
He was also kicked out.
Dia pun ditendang keluar.
So somehow I had to arrange a Bible school. He did a Bible school, and now he's pastor.
Dan dia masuk sekolah kita, dia pun jadi pastor.
He's married to a Christian girl and has 2 daughters.
Dia telah kawin seorang wanita Kristian dan sekarang punya 2 anak,
Gracie and Genesis.
Gracie dan Genesis.
And by the grace of God, God had mercy on me. My Bible school principal brought the proposal for his sister.
Oh, Tuhan sangat baik dengan saya. Guru besar sekolah kitab saya, dia yang mencadangkan adik perempuannya kepada saya.
I immediately said yes because otherwise who would arrange my marriage.
Saya cepat-cepat setuju sebab saya fikir siapa lagi mau atur saya kahwin.
Because no, nothing, no money, nothing, no.
Tak ada wang apa pun tak ada.
So anyway, I got married. I
Dan
had
saya,
2 kids.
saya kahwin dia 2 anak.
I got God-fearing wife.
Dan saya punya seorang isteri yang takut akan Tuhan.
We have 4 members in house.
Ada 4 orang kami di rumah.
4 of our life is new life given by Jesus.
Keempat kami hidup baru, hidup untuk Tuhan Yesus.
I have faced persecution so many times.
Saya telah mengalami penganiayaan banyak kali.
People want to kill me.
Orang mau bunuh saya.
I don't know the reason.
Saya tak tahu apa sebabnya.
I have left my pride of my caste.
Saya telah tinggalkan kebanggaan saya atas kasta saya.
Now I preach the love and mercy of God.
Dan sekarang saya memberitakan kasih
But I don't
Tuhan.
know why people hate.
Tapi saya tidak tahu kenapa orang benci.
9 September 2024,
9 September 2024,
I was attacked. People came to kill me. There are some stitches here.
saya telah diserang. Ada orang mau datang bunuh saya. Ada cacitan di sini.
I was beaten.
Saya telah dipukul.
But somehow, some people, they were passing by the road and they saved me.
Tapi kebetulan ada orang lalu lalang, mereka datang menyelamatkan saya.
My wife also received new life.
Isteri saya juga mendapat hidup baru.
She was pregnant with my daughter.
Dia hamil masa itu dengan anak perempuan saya.
And we come to know that there is a tumor in her womb between placenta and uterus.
Dan didapati ada ketumbuhan dalam rahimnya.
They said that the tumor is growing very fast.
Mereka kata ketumbuhan itu bertumbuh dengan cepat.
We had no idea how fast, it goes.
Kami tidak tahu betapa cepatnya ia bertumbuh.
We were referred by doctor to the last hospital people go,
Dan kami dirujukkan ke hospital lagi satu
the medical college.
untuk itu kolej perubatan.
And there she was under treatment. So since I have the older one is son, so son used to go to school. And one day we heard, because we were in hospital, we heard that he faint, and we wanted to meet him, both of us. So we spoke to doctor, asked him to release us for 1 day, just to go back home, sleep 1 night with him, and again we'll come tomorrow.
Jadi kerana anak saya tak pergi sekolah dan satu hari dia pingsan, jadi kami minta kepada dokter bolehkah dia balik tidur di rumah satu malam supaya boleh tengok anak saya juga.
So somehow under doctor's observation, it was 7th month started.
Jadi perhatian doktor itu 7 bulan.
But that day, morning, when we woke up, I saw my wife sitting on the recliner and the bleeding was going on.
Dan pagi itu saya bangun dan saya lihat isteri saya duduk di kursi baring dan berdarah banyak.
Immediately we took her to hospital. It took us at least 40 minutes to reach hospital.
Dan kami pergi hospital lebih kurang 40 minit.
And they said that the tumor is burst.
Dan tumor itu telah pecah
And she was badly infected.
dan dia telah dijangkiti teruk.
So they immediately took her for operation
Dan mereka terus bawa dia untuk operasi.
and they took out the baby
Mereka keluarkan bayi itu
and they called me inside
dan mereka panggil saya,
to show the baby.
tunjukkan kepada saya bayi itu.
Look at the baby. It is a baby girl, but she is not breathing.
Dan dia tunjuk inilah anak perempuan tapi dia tidak bernafas.
She was born dead because of the infection she got.
Dan dia telah lahir mati sebab cakitan itu.
Because when the tumor burst, so hematoma blocked the placenta, and from placenta only child had oxygen.
Dan kerana tumor itu pecah dan berdarah, dia tidak dapat bernafas.
So actually it was not like I did not pre-plan what to say, but at that moment I requested them just to keep her on life support. Please keep her on life support. She might have died just few minutes ago.
Jadi saya tak tahu apa orang cakap, tapi saya kata bagi dia terus disalurkan itu mesin.
And neurosurgeon came in analytical ward. She was in incubator, and the neurosurgeon came. They did a CT scan of brain. They said that brain is working, but even after death, for some minutes brain works.
Dan itu doktor otak datang dan mereka sewa otak yang masih bekerja, tapi dia biasanya beberapa minit lepas mati otak itu masih cergas.
It was a good news for me
Itu ialah berita baik bagi saya.
that something is alive in her.
Ada sesuatu yang masih hidup dalam dia.
We kneeled down and we started praying.
Kami berlutut dan kami mula berdoa.
In the operation theater, the operation was still going on for my wife,
Dan di bilik pembedahan masih berjalan untuk isteri saya.
and my daughter was in incubator.
Dan anak perempuan saya dalam itu incubator.
I was kneeling, crying, praying.
Saya berlutut, menangis dan berdoa.
So the brain was still alive next day also.
Dan otak itu masih cergas pada esok harinya.
Nothing was responding in her body.
Tidak ada apa yang lain yang berfungsi.
Those who are from medical field, they know what is HFO mode.
Dan orang yang dari tahu perubatan mereka tahu
It is
benda ini,
high flow oxygen.
yaitu sesuatu mengenai oksigen.
She was on 100% because there was not a 1% breathing her.
Mereka pasang itu 100% oksigen bantuan, so langsung dia tidak ada
Her
oksigen.
breast used to shake like this because of the pressure of oxygen.
Dan
She was a premature baby.
tangannya bergerak begini sebab itu oksigen yang banyak mereka taruh.
Only 100, this only 1.5 kilo.
Dia hanya 1,5 kilo saja.
So they said no chance.
Mereka kata tak ada peluang.
Her creatinine was 9. Creatinine was 9. Creatinine is the creatinine is a test for kidney.
Oh,
Her kidneys were
okay.
failed.
Okay. Jadi kidney ginjalnya sudah rosak. Kalau fungsi sudah.
And she had sepsis.
Dia ada keracunan dalam darah.
She actually hemoglobin should be in a child 24, mg, but her was only 5.
Jadi sepatutnya darah itu punya angka 24, tapi dia hanya ada angka 5 saja.
So very low blood and there was no oxygen, so she died. Because of that, her brain nerves become fragile and there was bleeding in the brain.
Jadi kerana itu juga mengakibatkan otaknya tidak cukup itu darah dan otaknya mula rapuh.
They said nothing is going to work.
Dia kata tak ada apa pun boleh dibuat.
So we were praying, and God spoke to me that I will bring back her. I will bring back her to life.
Dan saya berdoa dan Tuhan cakap dengan saya, engkau akan bawa dia balik hidup.
But on the ground, nothing was happening.
Tapi di bumi nyata tak ada apa yang terjadi.
She was lying just like that body in the incubator.
Anak saya itu berbaring di inkubator itu
Every
seperti
day
mati.
when we used to go in, they used to tell us a new name of new sickness which she had.
Setiap hari kami pergi, dia akan beritahu saya tentang penyakit baru dan kesan penyakit yang baru yang dia
She
punya.
had Sapellia virus.
Dia ada virus tertentu.
There was a board on her incubator, do not touch this child.
Dan ada satu notis sana di atas inkubatornya, jangan sentuh anak ini.
Only assistant professor, doctor used to wear proper gloves, PP kit and then touch her.
Hanya itu profesor yang pakai itu sarung tangan boleh pegang anak itu.
But we had hope.
Tapi kami masih ada harapan.
We were praying.
Kami berdoa.
On 14th day,
Hari ke-14,
her doctor called us.
doktor yang panggil kami.
There used to be 4 doctors in the neonatal ward.
Ada 4 doktor dalam itu ward perubatan.
Doctor said, sorry brother, you were keeping her with hope, but because of the pressure of oxygen, her lung burst.
Jadi doktor kata kami kerana kami terus bagi oksigen, paru-parunya pun sudah pecah.
Her lungs were, very weak, could not bear the oxygen pressure. It is 14th day, so it burst.
Jadi paru-parunya lemah dan kerana itu tekanan daripada oksigen
So
itu pecah
now the respiratory system is collapsed.
dan ada jantungnya sudah gagal.
So sorry.
Minta maaf.
But we said, please do something. Do some medical treatment. She will come to life.
Tapi kami kata cuba lakukan sesuatu perubatan, dia akan hidup balik.
He scolded me like anything because he was very sad.
Dia marah saya begitu sebab dia itu rasa sedih.
He said, you have gone mad.
Dia kata kamu sudah gila.
I said, no, Jesus will heal her.
Saya kata tidak, Yesus akan menyembuh dia.
They cut her from here
Mereka potong dia di sini.
and they put a bypass tube inside the lung. So the breath was coming from ventilator here and this was the bypass. They put that tube into the water bottle.
Dan mereka taruh pipe di ke paru-parunya ke mesin
Just to let the heart pump.
supaya itu jantung masih boleh berdetak.
So this was the situation.
Itulah keadaannya.
But on 17th day,
Pada hari ke-17,
the same doctor
dokter yang sama
with tears in his eyes,
dengan air mata
he comes
dia datang,
and he tells,
dia beritahu,
brother, your God has saved your daughter. She has breath for the very first time today.
dia kata, saudara, Tuhan kamu telah sembuhkan anak kamu sudah mulai bernafas pertama kali.
17th day, first time.
17 hari pertama kali bernafas.
And within 6 days, her kidneys were healed.
Dan dalam 6 hari bau pinggangnya pun sembuh.
sepsis gone.
Itu racun dalam darah pun hilang.
They put the food pipe.
Dan mereka tengah saluran makanan.
Because her kidneys were failed, so there was no use of food pipe in her. But when kidney got healed, they put the food pipe. They used to put milk in that.
Sebelumnya mereka tidak pernah taruh makanan, saluran makanan. Sekarang mereka taruh saluran makanan sebab pemikirannya sudah baik.
God healed, gave new life to my wife also, who was badly infected.
Dan Tuhan juga beri kehidupan baru untuk istri saya. Dia pun dicakiti dengan teruk.
God spoke to us. He said that my daughter will be there for 40 days.
Dan Tuhan
40 days, 40 nights, like Noah's story.
Dan Tuhan bicara dengan kami. Katakan bahwa anak perempuan kamu akan ada di hospital 40 hari.
And exactly 40 days when completed, 41 day night, 12, actually their shift changes 9 o'clock. So 12:05, doctor called me and said, you can take the daughter, now discharge.
Dan pada hari ke-40 itu kan, dokter telefon saya, dia kata, kamu boleh bawa anak kamu keluar hospital sudah.
Two things they told us.
Dua perkara dia beritahu saya.
The first thing they said, because she was on ventilator for 28 days and on incubator for 40 days, so she is 100% an abnormal child.
Dia kata kerana dia 28 hari dengan itu mesin paru-paru dan juga 40 hari dalam incubator, dia akan jadi anak yang tidak biasa.
Because when somebody is on ventilator, they are given a special medication so that they don't move, so that ventilator tube doesn't get disturbed.
Jadi kalau orang di dalam itu mesin pernafasan, mereka bagi obat supaya dia tak bergerak.
And in infant, if a child is on ventilator for more than 7 days, so they develop a problem called high syndrome.
Dan kalau seorang anak itu diberi obat 7 hari, kerana itu dia akan punya sindrom yang tertentu.
Because their senses get disturbed.
Sebab dia punya bagian-bagian tubuhnya itu terkesan.
Child becomes high syndrome child.
Jadi seorang anak yang punya sindrom high.
So according to medical science, 7 days. But she was on ventilator for 28 days. So according to medical science, she was 100% an abnormal child.
Dan mengikut sains, kerana kalau 7 hari dia akan jadi budak yang tidak akan sehat sudah ya, tapi dia sudah 28 hari.
And she had a lung injury.
Dan dia ada cedera di paru-parunya.
So they asked us to buy an oxygen cylinder and keep it with everything ready at home anytime.
Dan mereka suruh kami beli itu silinder oksigen simpan di rumah supaya boleh dipakai bila-bila masa.
I know, in front of me only she was died dead. In front of me also she was dead. You know, that is what doctor said.
Dan saya tahu sebab saya lihat di depan mata saya dia pun sudah mati.
And now doctor is saying she is, you know, the abnormal and she has got lung injury, cylinder, oxygen cylinder, this and that, you know.
Dan sekarang dokter kata dia tidak normal dan dia masalah paru-paru dan perlu itu oksigen semuanya.
We never got an oxygen cylinder.
Kami tidak pernah membeli silinder itu oksigen.
Never.
Tidak pernah.
We didn't give any medicine.
Kami tidak bagi dia obat.
After 3 months,
Selepas 3 bulan,
we went for her brain MRI.
kami pergi pemeriksaan MRI untuk otaknya.
When the report came,
Dan bila laporan datang,
doctor jumped from his chair.
dokter lompat dari kursinya.
He said, how it is possible? Her brain is 100% normal.
Dia kata, macam mana mungkin otaknya 100% normal?
And her brain works 200% normal.
Otaknya 200% normal.
She is the smartest girl in our family.
Dan dia anak yang paling berbijak dalam keluarganya.
I thought I am smart, but she is smarter than me.
Saya pintar, tapi dia lagi pintar dari saya.
And I named her Victoria.
Dan saya memanggilnya Victoria.
She is victorious.
Sebab dia pemenang.
So, God saved me.
Tuhan selamatkan saya.
God saved my wife.
Tuhan selamatkan istri saya.
Give new life.
Beri dia hidup baru.
God saved my daughter.
Dan Tuhan selamatkan anak perempuan saya.
And last year, because Satan wants to attack every time.
Dan tahun lepas, karena iblis mau menyerang.
14th April 2025.
14 April 2025 tahun lepas.
Last year, I was in my office.
Saya di pejabat saya.
My wife was feeding the baby in the room.
Dan istri saya jaga anak bayi di rumah, di bilik.
So my house has got a very big gate, 11 feet by 11 feet.
Dan rumah saya ada satu gate, pintu besar, besi besar yang
It's a 550 kilogram weight.
500 kilo beratnya itu pintu.
So my son was opening the gate and going out,
Dan anak saya buka itu pintu besi dan keluar.
and the gate fell on him.
Dan pintu besi itu jatuh atasnya.
after this, I share my testimony, we'll put everything here because there was CCTV camera.
Dan nanti saya bagi saksian kita akan tunjuk di sini sebab ada kamera CCTV.
He is 20 kilo.
Yes.
My son is 20 kilo.
Anak saya 20 kilogram.
And gate fell was 250 kilo. Half of the gate fell.
Dan gate itu, separuh gate itu 250 kilo jatuh atasnya.
Set and hit him hard.
Menghentam dia kuat.
I was in my office. I was not knowing all this.
Saya di pejabat, saya tidak tahu semua ini.
My friend called me. One of my friend, he is a very good prayer warrior.
Dan seorang kawan saya telefon saya, dia seorang pendoa.
He called me and he said, Sumit, is there like everything all right in your family?
Dia kata ada semua bagus kan dengan keluarga kamu?
He said, I was praying and I saw something wrong happening in your family.
Saya sedang berdoa dan saya lihat sesuatu yang tak bagus berlaku.
So I'm talking to him and behind his voice again the phone is coming. My wife is calling. I said, okay, I will talk to you. Let me talk to my wife.
Dan bila saya bercakap dengan dia, saya dengar telefon di sebalik ada panggilan telefon untuk saya dari isteri saya.
I picked the phone and she said that Joshua, my son Joshua.
Saya angkat telefon itu dan isteri saya beritahu anak saya Joshua.
Gate fell on him.
Itu besi jatuh atasnya.
I said take him to hospital.
Saya kata bawa dia ke hospital.
So neighbors and friends, took him to hospital. It was very difficult for me to reach hospital. Drive all the way to reach there. I reached about 40 minutes. It took me.
Dan jiran-jiran dan kawan-kawan bawa dia ke hospital. Saya ambil lebih kurang 40 minit untuk sampai hospital.
So they said that gate fall because I did not go home. So I wanted to see in CCTV camera how it fell. So it is there in my phone, the app. So I opened the app and I was looking at the video and I was showing that video to doctor.
Dan sebab saya tak sampai ke rumah, jadi saya tengok di CCTV, saya mau tengok apa yang telah terjadi pada anak saya. Dan saya tunjukkan video itu kepada doktor.
Doctor immediately said that because they already did a head CT scan.
Dan doktor itu cakap dan mereka sudah buat itu pemeriksaan otak.
But they said no, his ribs, his backbone, everything is broken. We have to do a scan of whole body right now.
Dan mereka kata tulang rusuknya, tulang belakangnya semuanya itu terletak. Mereka kena buat scan seluruhnya.
They did the body scan, everything. My son was talking to me. I was crying. He said, Daddy, I'm all right.
Jadi anak saya cakap dengan saya, dia cakap dengan saya menangis. Dia kata, Papa saya okey.
But I was, because he didn't know, no, I have seen the video.
Dia tidak
Heavy gate.
Dia tidak tahu. Saya sudah lihat itu video. Itu case sangat berat.
But we come to know that none of his bone, not a single bone was broken.
Tapi kami dapat tahu bahwa tidak ada satu pun tulang yang patah.
So I came out from the CT scan room and my friend was there.
Dan saya keluar dari bilik saya dan kawan saya ada di situ.
His name is Vinod.
Namanya Bino.
And he said that he come to know about this. He said he was praying and God showed him that Satan hit my son and my son died. So Jesus came and Jesus raised him from the dead.
Dan dia kata dia sedang berdoa untuk anak saya. Dia lihat iblis pukul anak saya dan anak saya mati. Tapi dia lihat Yesus datang. Yesus bangkitkan anak saya dari mati.
He do not know anything about video, anything. He do not know. He was praying.
Dia tidak tahu mengenal tentang itu video. Dia hanya sedang berdoa.
When I showed him video, he was shocked.
Bila tunjukkan video itu, wah, dia terkejut.
You also can see video and see that after that heavy gate was fallen on him, he's waking up as if he's waking from the bed.
Jadi
Normally.
kamu boleh tengok video itu. Dan bila dia bangun dari katil seperti bangun dari tidur.
That is Jesus gave him new life.
Itu Yesus bagi dia hidup yang baru.
All of us, Satan is after us. Satan is after us.
Iblis sedang mau menyerang kita.
It is not that we are perfect. We are human. No, we are full of weakness.
Dan kita tidak sempurna. Kita punya penuh dengan kelemahan.
But one crazy thing is ruling our life. That is, we want to live this life for Jesus.
Tapi satu hal yang kami tahu ialah hidup ini kami mau hidup bagi Yesus.
I want to live my life for Jesus. The last breath, I want to preach the gospel.
Saya mau sampai nafas terakhir saya mau kabarkan Injil Tuhan.
My family said they are not going to give me any family shares, which goes to son according to Indian custom.
Dan saya punya keluarga cakap mereka tak akan bagi saya apa-apa bahagian dalam warisan keluarga. Itu ialah cara di India.
But I have Jesus, I have everything.
Tapi saya ada Yesus, saya ada segalanya.
Very, very rich.
Sangat kaya.
I'm very rich.
Saya kaya.
4 of us
Kami berempat
got new life.
ada hidup yang baru.
That is the testimony of God's amazing grace.
Itu adalah kesaksian kebaikan Tuhan.
I have nothing to say, more than that.
Saya tidak ada apa lagi untuk tambah ke atas itu.
The only thing I would say is amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Saya ingin katakan betapa besarnya rahmat Tuhan yang telah menyelamatkan orang yang berdosa seperti
I
saya.
once was lost, but now I am found.
Dulunya saya sesat, tapi sekarang saya sudah ditemui
It is His grace.
oleh kasih karunia-Nya.
Let us give Him a round of applause.
Mari kita beri dia.
Ask you to just pray for, thank God first, and pray for my family. Just thank God. Raise your hand wherever you are, and just thank God for what God has done. So, I believe it was God's will that I could come and share this with you. I don't know what you are going through in life, but one lesson which you can draw, if God can do miracle in my life, so your miracle is on the way.
Amen. Jadi saya mau kita angkat tangan, ucap syukur kepada Tuhan atas apa yang Dia telah lakukan dalam hidup saya. Dan saya datang sini. Saya tidak tahu apa yang kamu sedang alami dalam kehidupan, tapi percayalah Tuhan telah lakukan mukjizat dalam hidup saya, dan saya percaya mukjizatmu juga dalam perjalanan.
Can we thank God?
Mari kita ucap syukur.
So I think do we need to turn off the light because it is a bit blurred. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is my house and this is the gate. Now see my son will come.
Itu rumah saya, dan itu gate ya.
See. On his neck, second gate.
Jatuh
So
pada
actually,
lehernya.
when gate is fixed, just stop. So it is like one needle is there. Okay. So if the needle breaks, no. So gate will lean. Lean for because it's heavy. It will lean,
Yeah.
but it did not lean.
Ya, jadi
Within
itu
few seconds, and that needle is not broken. It is unscratched, completely new. It is like the level, plant. And just before him, one pastor went, one pastor's family, and it was Monday, Sunday. So many people come, but Joshua was targeted because we three of us we overcome, and he was targeted. See now, okay.
hari sebelumnya orang-orang datang tapi tak ada apa-apa, tapi anak saya yang diserang.
So my wife is up there, putting the baby to sleep. So neighbors will come, but people cannot lift this. This is heavy gate. They cannot lift.
Jadi anak istri saya di bilik, saya anak dan orang jiran datang. Mereka tak percaya, so itu sangat berat.
It's very heavy.
Ini sangat berat.
See the boy, how he will come out.
Oh my god. Like normal.
Oh, okay,
It's like nothing happened.
No bone is broken.
Ada tulang yang patah.
Now they are putting the gun. All my wife. Very well. Yeah, you can just show the pictures. The pictures I have sent. Then I went to hospital. I was crying and this fellow was, see, he was saying, Daddy.
Di hospital dia begitu, dia tutup istri.
So this was his situation, and everybody thought that he's even face bone.
How old was he?
It was last year, sir. He is just 9 years.
Dia usia 9 tahun.
Now show the picture I have sent you. Sir, again I think that horse broke. It's all. Pastor Victor, horse broke. I'm sending pictures. Yeah, got it. You check. I'll show the pictures. So just because it is 14th April, so I think 16, 17 was the history. So
No. I'm alive.
Dan hidup kerana Yesus kita.
And I will show the recent photo. God is amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
Tuhan kita baik.
Show the pictures. This is just before I came, so I took them all for here.
Ini yang baru sebelum saya datang. Yang baru.
Everyone's family. After.
So the next picture I want to show my daughter when she was operated. So actually mobile was not allowed because we didn't click any photo. So at least I wanted to click one photo. So somehow one day I took the phone and I clicked a photo. So that photo I'll show you. Victoria's photo.
Foto anak perempuan saya Victoria.
Because the situation was very terrible, so we never thought that photo we can take.
Aku tak ada banyak, tak ada ambil foto sebab tak tidak sampai foto. Tapi saya cepat bisa foto.
We did last. So this was the situation
Itu keadaan dia.
of Victoria.